Hello friends, and welcome back to the Wardenburn Reads YouTube channel. I am Emily and I'm here today to talk about my October books. I'm realizing, especially for the next couple of months, we're probably going to need to shift back to doing monthly reading wrap-ups sort of a thing, although I have started scheming up some thoughts for December of doing not quite a vlogmas, but something along those lines of reading a bunch of Christmas books and talking about them in the month of December. But we will talk about that when we get to it. For this video, I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in October. I know that in my last video, I definitely mentioned some books that I had read. So this is kind of the second half of October. And then we're going to talk about a couple of books, one that I'm currently reading, and then, well, I guess both of them are current reads, and then maybe a couple that I'm thinking about getting to in November. So let's just dive right into it. Last video I left off, I was talking about reading a bunch of Claire Cain books, and Claire Cain is a contemporary author, and she actually has a lot of books out. And I was finishing up reading the Veterans of Silver Ridge series. Really enjoyed that one. I can't remember now if... I can't remember now exactly where I left off talking about it. But after I finished reading the Veterans of Silver Ridge series, I decided to finally try out a book by Elizabeth Mansfield. This one is one that Elizabeth Mansfield is an author. I'm trying to think. I'm pretty sure that I saw her suggested in a Reddit thread when I was looking up books and authors similar to Georgette and Kindle Unlimited had a number of her books available, so I was like, you know what, I'll give one a shot. And I picked out Her Heart's Captain, and I forgot to jot down the names of the main characters, of the main girl and the main guy, but this is a story about, what was it? It was like Jenny or something, I don't remember for sure, but she is the older sister of this younger kid who gets shipped off to sea as a cabin boy, or not a cabin boy, as a midshipsman something. I'm not very familiar with all the ship things. All the Navy related stuff. I know there's captains. I know that one. But he gets sent off to sea, and he's been very spoiled by his mother and in some ways by his sister. Their mother completely devotes all of her love and attention to the son and kind of ignores the daughter, which is not very nice. And so he gets sent to sea by I think it's the great uncle, who's the one that kind of gives them a lot of their money, because their dad is dead, as far as I remember. He's just not in the picture. And I should mention, if you hadn't guessed, this is a historical romance. While he's at sea, there's this captain, and he writes home these scathing, horrible letters about this guy, that he's like the worst person ever. And then lo and behold, it ends up that when the ship is back, there is some leave, and this captain ends up coming to stay close by to where his mother and his sister live, or where, my goodness, I need to write down names. I'm pretty good about it now. I've started doing that where I really try to write down the names. But anyway, the captain comes to stay in the same neighborhood as this other family, and the mom and the sister have heard all these horrible, horrible stories about him, and of course the captain has kind of fallen in love with the girl because they had this brief meeting when she was taking, is it Robbie? That she was taking down, accompanying him to go and get on his ship, and they had a brief meeting, a brief interaction, and they both kind of remembered each other. But then of course the sister has been hearing all these horrible, horrible things about the captain, and so she's less than enthusiastic. And yeah, it just kind of goes on from there. It was similar to Georgette Heyer, and there were a lot of like silly confusions, and the conversation was really good, like the witty banter back and forth. Obviously not quite as good as Georgette Heyer, but it was a really enjoyable read, and I'm very interested in reading more books by Elizabeth Mansfield. So that was Her Heart's Captain. Recommend that one. Then I read Sylvester by Georgette, and this one is a reread. I just have not read it in a good while. And this one is it's great. It's another one of those like comedy of errors type of book. How do I even go about describing this? So there is this girl, and she doesn't have much of a fortune. She's just a very practical type of girl. She's kind of a downtrodden by her stepmother and not treated very well. And she has written a book, and it is based off of a lot of the people in the elite of society when she briefly went to London for a season. And so she based this book off a lot of characters in town, and she's in the process of trying to get it published. And it just so happens that the main villain of the piece is Sylvester, the wicked uncle. And it's just kind of I don't really want to like say too much because I don't want to spoil it. It's just an excellent Georgette book. Like I said, it's a comedy of errors, and it's that whole thing where there's like this frigid, angry, what words, like, not jaded, what's the word where it's like they're just not very enthusiastic about life anymore, and just kind of meh guy who falls in love, and the thawing of his haughty angry behavior. I don't know. It's excellent. I so enjoyed it. And again, it's a reread for me, but I haven't read it in a very long time, so I really enjoyed that one. I've explained it terribly. So terribly. So please don't depend upon my description of it. It's an excellent Georgette book, and I highly recommend it. Then I decided to dive back into some of the Claire Cain books. I realized that she had some more series, and I thought I would try them out. I read Love Undercover, which technically is not part of a series, but it is, it references characters from the Veterans of Silver Ridge series and from one of her other series. So they're all kind of like interconnected. And that one was about Bree, who is a famous singer guy, and he is contacted by the special forces group that is trying to infiltrate this really evil bad guy's house and security and all of that stuff. And so the evil bad guy has a teenage daughter who is a huge fan of Bree. I think it's Williamson. I think that's what it was. Because Bree's a famous singer guy. And so they want Bree to accept the invitation so that they can accompany him as part of his like security team and then gain access to evil villains stuff. And of course there is a attractive undercover secret agent lady that Bree really likes, and so they had a brief interaction years before. So he specifically requests her to work on to be part of the group that is there with him, and of course they fall in love and all that stuff. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It was just another cheesy cheesy contemporary romance, I guess. Yeah. So I finished that one, and then I read Escaping with West. And this one was kind of fun because the main lady's name was Emily, so that was always good. And then this one is what appears to be the first in a series in progress that is about the Special Forces team that was from Love Undercover, which I didn't realize this going into, that there was that connection between the two. So it was good I read them in that order. But so there's this, it's called, what is it, like the Cardinals or something, where it's these 4 guys that are in this team, and what is it, West, Was that his first name? I thought it's like Ryan West or something. And then there's a north and a south and an east. And so each of them are eventually going to get their books, which I would definitely be interested in reading those because that's fun. It's like this brotherhood and they've got cool names and stuff. And it's another cheesy romance book. Like, there's not too much to say about most of these, because I read another, I had another trip that I was going on with my siblings for like a Thanksgiving thing, and so I was just reading really like light, fluffy stuff. And honestly, I feel like August, September, October have had a lot of fluff reads in them for me, and I'm now getting to the point where I want like, they're still fluff, but they're like slightly more, I don't know, slightly more elevated, slightly less fluffy. There's still romances and stuff, but anyway. So yeah, I read Escaping with West. I really enjoyed it. I would really love to read the rest of that series once it comes out, but it's not out yet. And then I dove into the, it's like Soldiers Overseas. Yeah, I think it's a Soldiers Overseas series is what it is. And it's another one of those where it's like all connected and it's all a series and it's all about, these books are all based off of this small fictional German army base. And the different characters in the books are all like interconnected. So the first one was about Livy and Eric, and it's called The Problem with Planning. And this is one where you get the, there's sort of like it's a single dad with 2 kids, and Livy ends up, she's a teacher. That's what it is. I was like, how is there a connection? She is the teacher for Eric's son. I think it's a kindergarten or something. And then of course at some point she has to like help babysit the kids for a couple of weeks because Eric's sister is going to be out of town, sort of a thing. And so there's initially this like, ooh, we can't date because I'm the kid's dad and I'm his teacher and that whole thing. So that was pretty cute. I enjoyed that one. Then I read Happiness in a Hoax, which is Katie and Noah. And this one was honestly, I really enjoyed that one. It was a marriage of convenience trope. It's my favorite. Noah had married Katie to save her from her cruel stepfather and stepbrother, and there is a whole messy situation going on there. And they had met, and yeah, so then she ended up, they got married so that she would not, like the second she turned 18, on her 18th birthday, they got married. And then Noah is involved in some sort of a operation that goes wrong, so he gets injured, so then they call his wife, even though she's living in the U.S. and he's in Germany, because it's a marriage of convenience, so they're not like actually like married. And so then she of course flies over because they were friends, like they knew each other. She flies over to be with him, and they realize that they've always been in love with each other, and it's this whole thing. It's very cozy and cute and fun because it's like they're both so in love with each other, but they're trying so desperately to hide it because they don't want to impose on each other. Like it's a whole thing, but it's very, very cute. And then I started reading the next one in the series, which I cannot remember the name of it. Let me see if I can pull it up here real quick, because it was Learning to Fight After Flight. And I didn't actually finish that one. So that one was a DNF. I got partway through it and I was like, you know what, this is just, I just wasn't feeling it. I just wasn't feeling the characters and the story, and it was just like kind of stressing me out. And I was like, you know what, I don't want to read this one right now. Because I was only reading it because I wanted to get to the last book in the series. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to skip ahead a couple of books and I'm going to read the last book in the series, which is Holding On to Hope, which is Nate and Ariel. And Ariel is the sister of Eric from the first book. And she had a really unfortunate, bad, toxic, abusive marriage that she was married to this guy for like 2 or 3 years. And so coming out of that, she had moved to live with her brother and his kids, one, to help them, but also as a way to like get away from him, from her toxic ex-husband. And so I was really intrigued to read that one. And then Nate is like, he's been their friends for like 15 years. Like he met Ariel because of Eric, because Eric and Nate were in the is it Nate? Yeah, Nate. They were in the military together, so they knew each other, and so then that's how they all knew each other. And he's been in love with her for forever, and she's always been interested in him, but neither of them have like shown that. And so then it's one of those things where it's the she needs a place to stay because her mom is coming back to help Eric, and so she's going to be in that spare room. So then Ariel needs a place to stay, and so then Nate offers her his spare bedroom at his house, and they're going to be roommates for a few months just while Ariel figures out what she wants to do next. And the story unfolds. I really enjoyed that one. It was really good. It was a lot of fun. So then I decided to backtrack and read one of the in-between books, which is The Bright Side of Brooding. This is about Summer and Nick. And this one, I had some complaints with. This one kind of like ended the Claire Cain deep dive, whatever you want to call it. It was just a bit much. So this is about Summer and Nick, and Summer had a weird, toxic upbringing, and she is living in Germany. She is a nurse. That's what it is. She's a nurse. And then Nick is in the military. He's been in the military for almost 20 years, and he's this giant of a guy who's really buff, and he does like coaching, training things. And they are like 3 doors down, and they kind of start being interacting more because Summer's thing is she likes to feed people, and so Nick was involved in a accident on post during one of the training things, and so Summer is feeding all of the people that were involved in that. So she's like feeding him, and he's like, no, I don't need the food, like I'm fine, I'm good. And she's like, I will feed you. And so she keeps like bringing him meals and things. So it was fine. It was cheesy, it was silly, it was like whatever. But, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, and so there are chapters, if you don't want to hear this, it's not anything big, really. Like, come on, we all know how these books end. And this isn't even the end of the book. This is like partway through the book. If you don't want to hear it, just skip over to the next book. The cheese factor was just too much for me. So, there's this trip where, I think it was Nick. That's what I have down here, but I have a question mark next to it. So I'm not 100% sure that it was Nick. But he has these 3 different soldiers that he is training and coaching, and they are going to London to compete in a competition of sorts. I'm not exactly sure what all it is. And one of the things that I do appreciate about Claire Cain's books is that she'll kind of reference things happening, like special operations or missions or things happening, but she doesn't really go into all the details. It's like, you don't really need to know all the information, and it makes it easy for her because then she doesn't have to know all the information. So she keeps some of that stuff vague, but it's a competition to do with bodybuilding exercises, whatever. I don't really know anything about that. And then, through circumstances, of course, Summer ends up going along to be the medical person on the team. And so they're getting down to like the end of the first day's training, and Nick's like, or the first day's competition. He's like, okay, like your taxi's here, you're gonna go somewhere. And she's like, what? Where am I going? So he sends her off in this taxi, and then they go to this place, and it's like, because all of these books are a dual point of view, so it'll be one chapter Summer, one chapter's Nick, one chapter Summer, one chapter's Nick. You get the idea. So it's her, and she's just like, I get to the door of the place, and I'm getting ready to knock on the door, and it's opened, and it's Paul, and I'm like, oh, it's Paul Hollywood. Like, the lady wrote Paul Hollywood into the book and made it so that it worked out that Nick was able to work some sort of whatever, he had a friend in high places situation, to sign Summer up to take a class with Paul Hollywood. And it was like talking about like, oh man, his blue eyes were as piercing as ever. Are you kidding me? I was just like, what is happening? This is stupid. Like, I was complaining to my husband about this because I was like, look, like, in every book you read, there is a certain amount of suspension of belief. Like, there's a certain amount where it's, you know, it doesn't really happen in life, or not very often. And so you just suspend your belief in reality just a little bit. that was past that point. I was just like, no, no. It could have been something super simple. She could have made it to where Summer was going to take a class with some chef guy, like some really cool baking class. That would have been totally believable. But the fact that it was Paul Hollywood and that it was supposed to be a baking class that was set up like the Great British Bake Off or the Great British Baking Show, depending on whether you're from America or the UK. Seriously? Like... And so that just tanked the rest of the book for me. I was just like, this is just dumb. Like, I get it, these are fluffy books, but really? Really? And like talking about like his piercing blue eyes and stuff. No. No. Like I got done with the book and I was like, alright, that's it. I'm done with Cain for a while. Like, I've had it. That was absolutely stupid. Like, no. Such a little thing. But it worked out well because then I am now reading a few other books that I am so enjoying. Of course, what I had to do in order to redeem my reading life, because honestly it put me in a little bit of like a funk for a day or so because I was just like, ugh, that was so dumb. I went back to my old reliable Betty Neels because I needed something that I could trust to be a good book. And I picked up Fate is Remarkable, which is actually a Betty Neels book that I have not read yet. And I so enjoyed it. It was so good. It was so sweet and wholesome and lovely and amazing, like all of the other Betty Neels books. And this is definitely one that is like higher up on my Betty Neels. If you have been watching my videos since this time last year when I discovered Betty Neels, I started keeping track of which one of the Betty Neels books that I like absolutely loved better than the other ones, and this one's definitely up there. It was a Marriage of Convenience one, which is a very common trope in Betty Neels books, and it was just lovely. It was so nice and so wholesome. There's a cottage up in Scotland where there's a bit where they're talking about that, and it's just... Please go read it if you like Betty Neels and you need something light-hearted and wholesome. It was amazing. I absolutely so enjoyed reading it. And I think part of it was like even more so enjoyable because it was after that ridiculous book. It's such a small thing to be irritated about, but I like got so irritated about it. I was just like, this is stupid. I've said that already. So I read that one, and then I picked up a book by Patricia Veryan. I'm not sure. This was another one that was recommended as an author being similar to Georgette Hare, and it's called The Wagered Widow. And this was one of those books that I started reading it, and I was like, oh, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I like it. I'll read a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe I don't. I'll read a little bit more. And like, it just, I didn't want to stop reading it. Like, I just wanted to keep going. It was kind of interesting because this one was set in like the 1700s, right around, or right after one of the Jacobite uprisings in England. So it was like I don't remember. It mentions kind of at the beginning what year it is. It's something 4. I can't remember if it was like 1734 or 1784. But it is about Rebecca, who is a widow. Her husband was killed in a duel a few years before the beginning of the story. She has a 6-year-old son named Anthony, and they all live together with her aunt in a house, Aunt Albania, something like that. I don't know. I know what it is, but I don't know how to pronounce it. And they are in straitened circumstances. They don't have a lot of money because her husband was a gambler, and that's why he was in a duel and he got killed. So it is right after the year of mourning, so Rebecca is just finally being able to get out of her widow's weed and wear bright colors and fun colors again. And she meets Sir Peter through her brother. And one of her brothers, and she's just like, oh, he's so handsome and he's so rich and lovely and kind, and I'm gonna pursue him. She's gonna try and make him propose to her. And she also meets this other guy. It's like DeVille or something. It's Trev. That's what they call him. And he is, of course, this like haughty, sarcastic, like annoying oh, what are the words? Where it's like this kind of irritating guy, but like also he has a great sense of humor, and he's not super handsome, and he's not that rich, and so she's obviously not going to be interested in him because she's got this super handsome Sir Peter. I'm not going to go into all the details because it'll spoil it, but it was an excellent book. This is probably the closest to a Georgette Heyer book that I have read. I really loved it. The banter and the wit, and like, I wanted to keep reading it. Like I said, at the beginning I was kind of like, I don't know, is this going to be fine? Like this, I'll try a little bit more. And I would be like, I don't think I'm going to read that right now. And then I'd read like 2 sentences, be like, never mind, I'm reading the next 6 chapters. Like, that sort of a thing. It was so good. And like the ending of it, there's some really intense bits. Like, it's just, oh, I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm definitely going to be checking out some other Patricia Veryan books, because it was just, it was excellent. So, those are the books that I have read. I read The Wagered Widow right here at the beginning of November, and then I'm currently making my way through a reread of Cotillion by Georgette Heyer. This is one that I read a number of years ago. I don't remember what trip we were on, but I think it may have been right after my first son was born. We had to drive to Wisconsin for a wedding, and it was like a really long trip. We had like a month-old baby, and I think that's when I was reading this book. And I remember like having to like kind of push myself to get through it, and I think some of it I was just exhausted, and my brain was just, you know, I had a baby a month ago, and we're driving like 12 hours in a car to go to this wedding and stuff. Like, it was not a particularly fun driving trip. I went to one of my favorite yarn stores I've ever been to while we were in Wisconsin, but not my favorite drive I've ever done. And I was reading Cotillion, and I haven't read it since, and I keep thinking about it. Like, that's the funny thing. Like, even though I was having to like push myself to read it, and I was like, oh, you know, that was okay. And then like at the last like third of the book or fourth of the book, I was like, oh man, this is great. I keep thinking about this book. And so, especially after reading that final Claire Cain book, I was like, all right, I need some like intelligent romance books that have a bit more depth to them, and that the vocabulary and everything is a bit richer. I just need something with a little more meat on it. But yeah, so I'm kind of working my way through this one. It's great. This is a story of Kit, or Kitty, and she is the ward of this rich, miserly guy, and he has decided that he's going to write his will, and he's going to make it so that he's going to give all of his fortune to Kit, but if she marries one of his great nephews, so the money stays all in the family. And it's great. I'm really enjoying it so far. It's, again, Georgette Heyer is just such an excellent author. It's hard to go wrong with her. But I'm enjoying that. And then I'm trying to slowly make my way through Thornyhold by Mary Stewart. I actually started this one earlier in the year, but then Beth from Small Home Comforts? Is that the right way around? I'm so sorry, Beth, if you're watching. I get the email every week. But then my brain like twists things. But anyway, she has this really, really lovely website and thing where she does a quarterly book subscription. I haven't signed up to it yet because it just hasn't been in the budget and whatnot. But it's this really lovely curated box with a book and a candle and other bookish related goodies. It's really, really lovely. And I'm on her newsletter, and I keep trying to find the time to like sit down and watch. Beth has I think it's weekly video that she puts up where she's kind of talking about books, or she is interviewing like another booktuber or something, and I've been meaning to sit down and watch it, and I just haven't gotten there yet. But in one of her recent newsletters, she mentioned that she had just finished reading Thornyhold, and I had been wanting to read this one for a good while because Jen from Jen's Reading Life has mentioned Mary Stewart a number of times as being one of her favorite authors, and I found this at Goodwill, like right after she was talking about Mary Stewart, and I think one of you lovely viewers had recommended Thornyhold as being like one of their favorite Mary Stewart books, and so I was super excited to find it. And then I started it and read like a chapter or so and then just put it on hold. I have such a hard time reading physical books these days with little kids around, but I miss it so dearly. And so I was like, you know what? Beth mentioned that this was a really great time of year to read Thornyhold, and I was like, I'm just gonna try in November. I'm gonna try and like make my way through. It's not that big of a book. I'm a few chapters in. I'm really enjoying it. Like that's the thing. Like I'm really enjoying the writing, and it just, yeah, it's about a young girl who inherits as far as I know. As far in as I am, young girls in like early 20s. She inherits a cottage from her aunt or great aunt, something like that. And so she has, where I'm at, she has just arrived at Thornyhold, and it's like an old house that's all hers now. And her dad recently died. Her mom died a few years ago. So I'm really looking forward to getting into this a bit more. Beth described it as having a really, strong sense of place, strong sense of home, which I absolutely love in books, when there's a big focus on like the place that they're living in and whatnot. So I'm very excited to keep trying to get through that. But that being said, I think that's about all that I have for you for today. I don't really know what else I'm going to be trying to read other than I've queued up a few books on my Kindle. I'm going to be trying out Essie Summers, which is a author that I saw recommended as being similar to Betty Neels. So I'll report back. I have The House on Gregor's Brae loaded up, and I've read like the first little bit of it, but not very much. I have The Long Masquerade by Madeline Brent, which was another author that was recommended as being kind of similar to Betty Neels. So we'll see when I get through that one. I'd love to try out another Patricia Veryan book. I was going to read Winter Solstice by Rosamund Pilcher. One of you lovely viewers, at least one of you, probably multiple of you, has recommended it as being an absolutely amazing book, and I've been wanting to read it because, again, Jen from Jen's Reading Life, she's honestly my most book inspirational, the one that I find the most books suggested to me from. She has mentioned it a number of times, and so the only place I could find it was through my library digitally, and so I put it on hold for months. Like, we're talking like maybe even 6+ months, and the hold just got in, and I went to go ahead and lend it, get it, and it said that my library card had expired, and I couldn't claim my hold, and I'm just so frustrated. I was waiting for months, so I need to get back over to the library and try and get the my library card renewed. But what a hassle, and so disappointing, because like it finally came through, and I was like, perfect. It was right after the like Cain book debacle, and I was like, perfect. It just came in. We're getting into the cooler months. This would be the best time, and I can't even get it. So I'm going to have to try and get back over there and get my card renewed and maybe try and get a digital or a physical copy of it. But anyway, we'll see if I can get to that. Like I said, I'm scheming up some thoughts for maybe some short videos throughout the month of December, like, I don't know, one every day or two, or every couple of days, or every 2 or 3 days. I was thinking it would be really fun to read a bunch of Christmassy books, like Cain has some Christmas books. Casey Stockton has some Christmas books. There's a Georgette Hare short story collection that I've read before, but I think it'd be really fun to reread. Maybe read some of the British Library crime classics. They have a couple of like Christmassy, wintry short story collections, and then do like a short video like per book. We'll see. I'm not 100% committing to anything, just because life with 2 little kids it's a lot, and sometimes I just don't have much time. So stay tuned. I'm hoping to do that, because I thought about that idea and I was like, that actually really excites me. I would like to do that. We'll see. But that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching and being here. I do so truly appreciate each and every one of you. If you have any really like autumnal books, like some really good autumny books, like not October-y, like spooky type books, but really like rich autumnal books, I would love to hear about it, because I've got like that itch where I want to read some really, really cozy autumn books. So if you have any of those suggestions that you like, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to hear about it. And I will see you on the next one. Bye!